Hello everyone, Chris Assis here, and today I want us to take advantage of our last video, which we were exploring dynamic movement, and we put a sequence together uh, to do that. So part of the sequence was a high bolero. That last video, which you will be able to see at the description below, um, was is based on the understanding of the freedom of the leg. So, and how we can get to that. How our posture and the shape of our spine allows for that freedom, and how it is important before we start lifting that leg up off the floor, that we think and explore our different options for getting our body to yield towards the floor. So I received a couple of messages asking exactly about this last part, and we're going to explore this today a little bit more in depth. So if you're not really you're thinking, well, I'm not really interested in dynamic movement. Does this have anything to do with anything else? The answer is yes. So uh, the most common mistake that we do as dancers, but also every day in our lives, is that we either let go and drop, and drop towards the floor. So when we relax, we just let everything go, and this is a symptom in quotes of being able to stand on 2 feet compared to our our friends who are on 4 feet. So we tend to drop to flex the spine, and then it's very difficult when we need to extend, and that is one of those things that will help that free leg go up, or will just get you into the proper tango posture. So in tango, you can't be in a flex position, you need to be in a more extended position. So that is something we have difficulty overall. If you are one of those people, this video will help you. And then when we're talking about the free leg, we don't only need that element of yielding when we want to do something that's dynamic and powerful. We need it even for a very simple tango walk, because you want to feel secure over your axis to be able to take the next step, and not to feel that you're always sort of in the process of making it there, but not really. So that's what we're going to be working on today. This video will definitely help dynamic movement, but it really has not it not doesn't have a direct connection to it. So you can do, it's a standalone video. It will definitely help your dynamic movements, but most of all, it will help your tango overall. So let's go. So start either sitting like that over your shins, or in a different, more comfortable position for you, and just notice your breath. Let it change how you sit and how you stand. Try to get rid of any proper ways of sitting, and just acknowledge where it feels, how it feels comfortable to sit, where your body needs to be, so you can feel good while sitting, and able to take your mind into to different focuses, like how you breathe, your rhythm, where can you identify tension, how you can release it, and so on. So spend as much time as you need here, and then open up the knees wide to the edges of your mat and reach through, relaxing the arms forward, relaxing your chest down towards the floor, and relaxing your head and neck. And just take a couple of nice deep breaths here and long exhales. Then lift the palms and see if after taking a nice deep breath, you can exhale and sink deeper into an extension. And we're going to repeat this a couple of times. Feel free to repeat it even more times than I do here in the video, because we want to grow into flexion and then sink into extension as we exhale. So we inhale and curve, and then exhale to extend. The reason why we're doing this a couple times is that hopefully you will have the opportunity to notice in your body, but also notice here how my spine changes and how my hip position changes after a couple of times, and as I'm making that flexion and extension deeper. So as I am making the movement bigger and deeper, the hips start to release. They start to find more movement around the legs, and that allows me to sink deeper and in the extension as well, that's following the curve. So we want, most importantly, to be able to release tension in the hips and manage to move the body as a continuous, in one continuous movement, not as one block, but as a continuous movement. So we want a flow. So even if the big curves and the big extensions are not something that you can reach at the moment, that's absolutely okay, as long as you're focusing on finding that flow. So repeat it as many times as you need to. You can see now how the movement has changed in my body compared to what I started with, and this is without any extra pressure. So when you're ready, come into an all fours position, adjust your feet and your hands. Make sure that you're not pressing against the floor like actively and aggressively, but you're more aligning yourself and you're feeling the contact. And then we're going to start by looking to the right and looking to the left. Allow for your hips to move as well, and notice how that makes your weight shift. So we don't want to be abrupt, nice and gently, but notice how looking to one side and the other shifts your weight, because it moves your hips as well. And you bring the knee in on an inhale. Exhale, send that leg back. Inhale, bring that knee in and curve. Exhale, send the leg back and extend. Do this a couple of times and try, most importantly, not for height, but for freedom of the leg inside your hip, and for grounding through the other knee and the two hands. And when you're ready, if you want to take things up a notch, you reach the opposite arm out. The important part here is not to press away, not to collapse either, but to yield towards the floor. And of course, we repeat our side bending pattern because we want to do it on the other side. Now, why are we doing this on all fours? Because when we have more points of contact, it is easier to find the balance, and therefore it will be less tension that we're going to be dealing with. So that is one reason. And the second reason is way back when we were on all fours, we established the very patterns that we carried all the way to how we move today. So oftentimes going back to an all fours position brings back those ancient patterns. And sometimes we need to reconnect with nature, with our history. Yeah, so that's also another reason. But for technique purposes as well. And there we go. We sit back for a moment. You can go into a cat-cow, as they call it. Take a moment of rest. And when you're ready, step forward with your right foot and then back in. And repeat. You're probably going to think why we are doing this, stepping forward, coming back in on repeat. Because if you notice, I am trying to release, to make that leg freely on its own move forward. You're going to see it a lot better on the other side. We come into a runner's position, and our biggest thing here, because we're going to be changing from all fours to 2 points of balance, is to manage the weight on our feet. How we connect with the earth is very important for how we're going to be able to free the other side and bring things off the floor. So this is what we are examining at the moment, from going from 4 points of contact to 3 points of contact, and gently, slowly, with focus on our breath, to 2 points of contact. Now don't rush this here. Take a lot of time, as much time as you need. Even if you can't reach the 2 points of contact, don't worry. If you got to 3 points, that's great. That's amazing. So take your time here. Keep breathing. With every exhale, find that line from your heel into the hip, into the spine, all the way up to the head. And then coming back to the ground in a safe spot. There we go. Okay, and now the other side. As promised, you will be able to see things a little bit better here. So the idea is that we don't want to feel that our body is moving like one block. That's not healthy. Let's put it that way. We want to be able to move our body as in a continuous flow, with the different parts being free. That's the actual title of this video. So instead of moving the hips too much to be able to, moving the hips along with the leg, there we go, got it, or moving the leg along with the hips, or moving the body along with the leg and the hips. So moving, instead of moving as a block, we want to be able to move the leg on its own, and that's the reason of that exercise. So then when we're coming here into a runner's pose, we want to be able to feel that that little pressure of that back and forth, it's connected to our breath, and the legs, as we're coming up, are moving inside our hip. They're not locked. There is freedom there, though we're taking action, because many times people think that when we're taking action there is no freedom, or if the leg is, or exactly the opposite, that if the leg is free, it's supposed to be like dead weight. But in either cases, we don't want passivity, and we don't want feeling stuck and locked. So in both cases, either if we're talking of the free side, or if we're talking on the one carrying a weight, we need to find an efficient alignment and efficient movement that allows us for breath and freedom inside our joints. Yeah, and that comes with time, slowly and gradually, and with consistent work, but it definitely makes our dance feel a lot smoother, a lot better, a lot more enjoyable. And not only our dance, but our everyday life as well. So that's an extra bonus. One last thing here. Think about how many times you need to work with same arm, same leg. Every time you take a back step, followers, right? Every time you take a forward step, leaders. That left hand, especially with your left foot, that left hand to left foot connection or right hand to right foot connection are very important. So this is it. Um, as you saw, this was a more progressive type of practice. So what that means, it's about 10-minute long, a 10-minute long practice. But as you saw, we went from one stage to the other gradually in a flow. So one thing that you want to be focusing on is that flow, building slowly, gradually, from one exercise to the next to the next. So the transition is equally important as the exercise itself. So that's number one. Number two, really depend on your breath. um, you'll hear all the tips in the during the practice of how we're acknowledging the shortening and expanding the body, and how that expansion is in many different directions. So left and right, forward and back, up and down, happens at different moments during our breath. So try to find that three-dimensionality of breath, which will help you define what axis really is. So, not only thinking of top of the head to the tailbone, but also thinking forward and back, left and right. And then, based on that, you can start bringing your body in different positions around those three. Like if you have this type of axis, right, 3 dimensions, how you bring your body around the those 3 dimensions. In this way, you will be able to um, fully understand what yielding means compared to pushing away. So pushing away happens because we focus partly because we focus so much on this axis, um, and we feel that if we press into the floor, we're going to be more lifted, which is partly right, but it also brings a long tension. So we forget the other directions that play a very, very important role. So start with your breath, build uh, build it build the whole practice gradually, going from one exercise to the next, being mindful of the transition. And number three, try to really see and feel the 3 dimensional axis, and attempt that yielding by understanding those 3 dimensions, by feeling how your body moves through those 3 dimensions. So even if you can't do the whole practice, understanding these concepts is far more important, will get you far far further down the road than just going through those 10 minutes. So your turn. Have fun.